What is go-to-market engineering? We did a video on go-to-market 101. What is GTM 101? Now let's go deeper. What's the rationale for thinking of go-to-market as an engineering feat? Well, it's important that we do because companies routinely waste up to 30% of their market budgets on uncoordinated launches, fragmented campaigns. GTM, go-to-market engineering, addresses this by treating each product rollout as a software release. It's versioned, it's testable, and it's observable. So today, we're going to learn how to replace like one-off spreadsheets and siloed handoffs with an engineering-grade framework. So every campaign becomes repeatable and self-improving as a revenue engine. By applying software development rigor, which is breaking campaigns into modules, instrumenting every touch point, automating routine tasks, and iterating consistently, organizations can cut risk, they can accelerate learning, and they can scale predictably. This is not theory, it's a practical approach for RevOps, for revenue operations teams that need faster insights and cleaner handoffs. So let's start with the engineering mindset in GTM. Okay? GTM engineering begins with systems thinking. So rather than treating marketing and sales and support and success as separate phases, GTM engineering models the entire buyer journey as an integrated pipeline. Each step, from the first ad impression to the closed deal, is a component with defined inputs and outputs and interfaces. This mindset aligns teams around a shared view of how value flows through the company to customers. So before launching any campaign, teams formulate a falsifiable hypothesis. So for example, shifting our webinar invite subject line to emphasize pain points will boost registrations by 20%. Okay, and then you codify the expected outcome as a measurable test. And by storing email sequences and landing page configurations and audience definitions in version control, teams can branch work, they can roll back underperforming variants, and they can run parallel experiments without the fear of breaking production. So now that we know the mindset of GTM engineering, what are the core principles of GTM engineering? So modularity requires that audiences and messaging and channels be broken into discrete, reusable components, much like software libraries that can be mixed and matched and refined without rebuilding from scratch. So observability is a core concept here. Observability is when live dashboards that surface red flags in real time are a core part of your interface. And observability ensures that every campaign metric, whether it's click-through rates or form conversions or opportunity close ratios, is instrumented and centralized. Automated alerts highlight sudden drop-offs or broken links the moment that they occur. Automation eliminates manual handoffs, so leads route themselves via API triggers, and weekly performance recaps generate without human intervention, and routine report generation simply disappears from analysts' to-do lists. And continuous integration and continuous deployment, which is CI/CD, which borrows directly from DevOps. Every new variant commits to Git, passes an automated link and spell check pipelines, and rolls out gradually, often to a small audience segment first before full-scale production release. And with these principles in mind, now we can kind of examine the technical foundations that make GTM engineering possible. So here are some of the key building blocks of GTM go-to-market engineering. First is a robust data architecture is the first building block. At its core, a centralized customer data platform, a CDP, enforcing strict schema versioning and consistent naming convention for every event is critical. So page view, form submit, deal close. We want to have a naming system and a naming convention method so that we know what everything means, how to classify it, and how to retrieve it when we need that information. Without a single source of truth, dashboards fragment and actionable insights evaporate. The second layer comprises campaign pipelines. So separate sandbox environments allow safe prototyping of new funnels without risking live data, while automated rollback scripts revert underperforming variants in seconds. This sharpens the team's ability to move quickly without fear of permanent mistakes. Finally, feedback loops tie everything together. So regular GTM sprints filter signal from noise in A/B tests. They prioritize the next set of hypotheses based on empirical impact, and they refine modules in an ongoing build, measure, learn cycle. So having established these foundations, now we can explore the frameworks that actually drive disciplined execution. So here are the methodologies and frameworks of go-to-market engineering. So first of all, lean go-to-market sprints mirror agile software sprints, right? Teams maintain a prioritized backlog of hypotheses. They spin up rapid prototypes. They deploy to small cohorts, and then they make data-driven decisions to kill or tweak or scale each experiment. Test-driven GTM elevates this by writing desired lift metrics as automated tests in monitoring dashboards before building the campaign, ensuring clear pass-fail thresholds at launch. To help remember the full scope of GTM engineering, it's important to remember, we've mentioned this in another video, it's a mnemonic called SCOPE, which is segmentation, channels, offer, pricing, and execution. So SCOPE, segmentation is where we define narrow, high-value audiences. Channels is where we select distribution paths aligned to buyer behavior within those segments. The offer articulates your value proposition in customer-centric terms through those channels to that segment. Pricing is where you structure your SKUs, your SKUs, to simplify choice and encourage upgrades to create clear theoretical purchasing paths to upsell for the customer. And this will be done primarily by customer success. And then finally, execution, where you build and you instrument and you automate and you iterate the actual GTM playbook itself. And over time, these frameworks converge into a platformization mindset. Basically, you have an internal library of templates and playbooks and scripts that transform GTM launches into configuration-driven operations rather than bespoke projects. Next, let's look at the GTM toolchain and tech stack. So the GTM engineering tech stack parallels modern DevOps. Enterprise CRMs and marketing automation platforms like HubSpot or Salesforce or Marketo, these expose APIs and webhooks that teams treat like infrastructure. So workflows, defined declaratively in JSON or YAML, they live in Git alongside other code assets. And then downstream from that, ETL pipelines feed into BI tools that are unified, like Looker or Power BI or an internal CRM reporting dashboard, so that every marketing and sales and revenue metric resides in a single reporting layer. Continuous integration systems like GitHub Actions or Jenkins enforce quality gates by running content linters and link validators and schema checks on every proposed change, ensuring that no campaign variation reaches production without passing automated scrutiny. And then finally, we're going to move on to GTM engineering challenges and pitfalls. So even powerful frameworks can falter if misapplied. And over-engineering go-to-market risks turning every campaign into a heavyweight project. And teams end up actually spending more time building the scaffolding for bringing their product to market or running an experiment or executing a campaign than they actually do in driving demand. So data quality issues and schema drift can silently break dashboards, making governance and automated schema validation non-negotiable. So really, it's a balancing act when you're facing this specific challenge or pitfall of potentially over-engineering your go-to-market strategy and implementation. But it's sensitive to the specific team and the specific campaign and the specific strategy. But there should be a GTM engineering layer, and that GTM engineering layer should always be making some reasonable compromises with the execution and implementation teams themselves so that things can get done, and so that the GTM team is not an obstacle to execution. Because speed often competes with compliance, right? And it's essential to embed legal and brand guardrails directly into CI pipelines, such as like a brand lint step to prevent rogue launches that expose the company to risk. And maintaining the right balance between rigor and agility is the ongoing challenge of GTM engineering. So, what's the roadmap to implementation? Once you have your GTM strategy, how do you actually implement that? Well, you begin your GTM engineering journey with a process audit. You map your current buyer journey, your ideal handoff, any delays, and you flag black holes where leads vanish. And next, you prioritize high impact modules, such as your lead scoring funnel. And you modularize it by defining its inputs and its outputs and its interfaces as code. And with that foundation in place, you establish observability by building core dashboards for pipeline velocity and channel ROI and time to MQL. And then finally, you adopt a sprint cadence. So after each experiment, you review the results, you refine your modules, and you tackle the next hypothesis. Over successive cycles, these iterations weave your GTM practice into a versioned, testable, self-optimizing system. So let's wrap this up. What's the future outlook of go-to-market engineering? So GTM engineering represents the natural evolution of RevOps. As companies demand faster, more predictable revenue engines, treating every product launch like a software release will separate leaders from laggards. And emerging trends like AI-driven optimization, self-healing campaign architectures, and automated creative generation will only amplify the need for engineering rigor. And by architecting your GTM and instrumenting every touch point, testing hypotheses rigorously, automating handoffs, you'll build a revenue machine that scales sustainably and adopts in real time, delivering measurable impact long after each launch. It's really an amazing feat of engineering and something that I think does represent the future of revenue operations.